Good morning. Energy bills are set to fall from tonight as the regulator cuts its price cap. I'll explain what it means for your gas and electricity costs.
Rising prices become part of everyday life. There is possibly, Anna can explain, some good news. I mean, times are difficult. That will not change. But in amongst that, this is to do with energy prices, isn't it?
Yeah, perhaps a slight glimmer of hope for many people as they just start to ease down very slightly. Yes, you might have heard from your energy provider by now telling you, hopefully, that your costs will be lower from next month. That's because the energy price cap falls from tonight. That's the maximum amount that companies are allowed to charge per year per unit of gas and electricity for a so-called typical household. Remember, as we always say, it's not a cap on your total bill. If you use more energy than the average person, you will pay more. But let's have a look at the figures. The price cap at the moment is just over £3,200, but government support means that typical households are paying £2,500. From midnight, the amount that companies are allowed to charge will drop very significantly to just over £2,000. Good news. But this graph that we're about to show you now is a reminder of how much things have changed. The energy price cap was only introduced in 2019, at which point it was just over £1,000. And that figure only went up very, very slightly until this huge jump in October last year when the war in Ukraine led to much higher prices on the international market. It then went up even further to a peak in January this year, though in reality, none of us ever paid that much because the government subsidised our bills. And this is where the price is falling to now. A big drop, but as you can see when we look at the whole thing, still double what it was just a couple of years ago. The advice as prices drop is to take a meter reading today to make sure that you're being charged correctly. I've been finding out how people feel about the change.
At home near Macclesfield, Emily's just had an email to say her gas and electricity bill is about to go down by around £370 a year.
It feels good. I think we just have to remember that it's still not going to go as low as they were, so it's a nice little bit of a relief, but it's still not what it was. It's nice to know that they're going to come down, but it's just not quite enough.
It's kind of better than nothing.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Look on the bright side.
But at the gym Emily runs with her husband Alex, they're still locked in to a much higher price.
When's your next client?
10 minutes.
Here the energy costs have more than tripled to around £1,500 a month.
Okay, control it on the way down.
And because businesses are not affected by the change in the energy price cap, the bills are going to remain a heavy burden.
We're still paying the higher prices even though we know the energy prices have actually gone down.
How do you feel about that?
It's pretty sad, to be honest. It feels like there's no need for us to be paying such a higher price other than we're contracted in. But the reason we're contracted in is because we had no choice at that time, because otherwise if we were on a variable limit we wouldn't have been able to afford the energy. So it's really frustrating. It just feels like it's stalling us. Very much 2 steps forwards, 1 step back.
As for the future, there's little sign of prices falling much further anytime soon. But there are indications we've all reduced our usage as people try to bring down bills at a time of persistently higher prices.
So Charlie and Naga, a little bit of good news there, hopefully for many people. And also when you talk to them, a lot of people saying, well, I'm using a bit less now because it's the summer. So people hoping for warm weather, not too hot, not too cold, so they don't use too much energy.